The Buddha walked along the riverbank, his robe gently swaying in the breeze. His disciples followed closely, observing silently. He stopped near a solitary tree, its branches reaching skyward, its leaves trembling in the wind. The Buddha gazed at the tree, his eyes filled with calm wisdom and a profound stillness. "This tree stands alone," the Buddha began, his voice carrying gently over the murmur of the river. "It does not fear the isolation, nor does it envy the forest where trees grow together," he said. A disciple stepped forward, his brow furrowed, and asked, "Master, how does this tree endure such solitude?" The Buddha turned to the disciple, a faint smile gracing his lips as he prepared to speak. "This tree seeks not the companionship of others but draws strength from its roots deep in the earth," he replied. "The wind that shakes its branches does not break it, for its foundation is firm, anchored in stillness." The disciples looked at the tree, their hearts searching for meaning in the Buddha's words. "The tree's aloneness is not a burden," the Buddha continued, "but a space where it finds its own essence. In your life, there will be moments of solitude," he said, his gaze shifting between each disciple. "You must not resist these moments, nor rush to fill them with distractions or illusions of connection," he added. A monk, younger than the rest, spoke hesitantly. "Master, does this mean we should avoid all companionship?" The Buddha chuckled softly, his laughter like the rustling leaves in the wind, soothing yet wise. "No, my dear monk," he said, his voice gentle. "Companionship is not to be avoided, but neither is solitude feared. The tree connects with the wind, the rain, and the sunlight without clinging to any of them," he explained. "So must you learn to connect without grasping, to love without attachment, and to cherish without possession," he said. The disciples nodded, their minds wrestling with the depth of the Buddha's teaching on aloneness and connection. The Buddha moved closer to the tree, his hand reaching out to touch its rough bark, grounding himself in its presence. "This tree grows not by seeking more but by being true to its nature," he said, his tone reflective. "You too must grow by understanding your essence, not by chasing fleeting comforts or external validations," he continued. The river's gentle flow harmonized with the Buddha's words, as though nature itself agreed with his teachings. "Loneliness can teach us," he said, "for in aloneness, the mind confronts itself and seeks its true foundation. When you embrace your solitude, you allow the winds of truth to shape you, not the storms of fear," he added. The disciples sat down near the tree, their eyes closing as they meditated on the Buddha's words. The young monk asked again, "Master, how do we overcome the fear of loneliness that grips the heart so tightly?" The Buddha turned to him, his eyes filled with compassion, his presence a calm harbor for the monk's fear. "Fear is the shadow of misunderstanding," the Buddha said. "When you see solitude as emptiness, fear takes root, but when you see it as the soil where truth grows, fear dissolves, and wisdom takes its place," he explained. The monk bowed his head, the tight grip of his fear loosening as he breathed in the Buddha's teachings. A senior monk reflected aloud, "Master, solitude seems vast and profound, yet connection feels fleeting and fragile. How do they reconcile?" The Buddha smiled, his expression serene, as he addressed the monk's thoughtful inquiry with graceful words. "Connection is the reflection of your inner stillness in another," he said. "It is not meant to last forever. As the wind moves through the branches, so do connections come and go, leaving their imprint in your growth," he explained. The disciples listened, their hearts and minds opening to the delicate interplay of solitude and connection. "Do not seek permanence in what is impermanent," the Buddha said. "Seek to understand its nature and let it flow." The sun dipped lower on the horizon, casting a golden glow over the tree and its steadfast shadow. "This tree stands firm not by resisting the wind, but by bending and letting it pass," he said, In life, you must learn to bend without breaking, to endure without resistance, and to love without clinging, he added. The disciples opened their eyes, their spirits lighter and their understanding deeper as they contemplated his wisdom. A bird landed on the tree, singing a gentle song, its melody a reminder of life's transient beauty. Even the bird does not stay forever, the Buddha said, pointing to the fleeting presence of the feathered visitor. So too must you cherish connections without seeking to hold them forever. For they are gifts, not possessions, he continued. The tree, the river, and the Buddha became symbols of harmony, teaching the disciples through their silent presence. One disciple, gazing at the tree, whispered, "This tree is like the Buddha himself. Rooted yet reaching, solitary yet connected." The Buddha turned, his expression humble yet filled with knowing. As he prepared to depart, "Each of you is like this tree," he said. "Solitude is not your enemy. It is your greatest teacher." With that, the Buddha began to walk away, his footsteps merging with the rhythm of the earth and wind. The disciples followed, carrying with them the profound understanding of solitude and connection the tree had revealed. As the sun finally set, the tree stood alone, a silent witness to the Buddha's timeless teachings of unity in aloneness. Another day, the Buddha and his disciples arrived in the village of Vaishali. Greeted by the sound of weaving looms, a humble weaver invited them to his modest home. Offering hospitality with a quiet, respectful demeanor, the weaver worked alone, his loom clicking steadily as he crafted a long and intricate piece of cloth. The disciples observed the weaver's labor, his hands moving rhythmically, his focus unwavering despite the solitude of his work. One disciple asked the Buddha, "Master, this man works tirelessly yet alone. How does he find fulfillment in such solitude?" The Buddha sat near the loom, his gaze gentle as he watched the weaver thread his craft with patience and care. The Buddha began, "What you see as solitude is filled with meaning. Each thread carries the weaver's intention and devotion. He works alone, yet his cloth will touch lives, warming bodies and carrying offerings to the temple," the Buddha explained. The disciple reflected, uncertain, and asked, "But does solitude not breed loneliness? Master, how can we endure such quiet isolation?" The Buddha turned to the weaver and said, "Tell us, how do you find peace in your labor, even without company?" The weaver paused, his hands steady on the loom, and replied, "I see not just threads, but the connections they form in others' lives. My hands may be alone, but my heart is present in every home where my cloth will find purpose," he continued. The Buddha smiled, acknowledging the weaver's wisdom, his words resonating with the disciples gathered around. Loneliness dissolves when we understand that our actions connect us to others. Even if we labor alone, the Buddha said, work, love, and compassion are the threads of human connection. In solitude, we weave the fabric of the world, he added. The disciple who spoke earlier bowed his head, humbled by the weaver's perspective and the Buddha's wisdom on connection. The loom continued to click rhythmically, creating patterns that mirrored the beauty and complexity of life itself. Just as this loom weaves threads into cloth, your solitude can weave moments of understanding into a greater tapestry, the Buddha said. The act of weaving is quiet, yet profound. It symbolizes how even solitary efforts create something greater than themselves, he continued. Another disciple spoke hesitantly, "Master, sometimes solitude feels endless. How do we keep our hearts strong when it feels so heavy?" The Buddha turned his gaze to the disciple, his expression calm yet compassionate, as he prepared to address the question. Solitude challenges us because it confronts us with our own minds, our fears, and our longings, the Buddha began. Yet it is within this confrontation that we find clarity, understanding, and the strength to endure, he added. Do not see solitude as isolation, he said. See it as a thread that leads you to deeper truths about yourself." The disciple nodded, his heart lighter, realizing that solitude was not a barrier but a pathway to growth. The weaver continued his craft, his hands moving steadily, as if embodying the teachings shared by the Buddha. "Master," another disciple said, "does solitude mean we must always be alone, even to find connection in our lives?" The Buddha chuckled softly, his laughter like the gentle rustle of leaves in the wind, comforting yet wise. "Solitude does not mean avoiding companionship," he said. "It means cherishing moments of quiet and understanding their value. Connection and solitude are not opposites. They are threads that intertwine to form the fabric of existence," he explained. The disciples sat in silence, their hearts contemplating the interwoven lessons of solitude and connection shared that day. The weaver's cloth neared completion, its intricate design a testament to the beauty of focused and devoted labor. Even when you work alone, remember that your labor creates value for others, binding you to them in unseen ways, the Buddha said. You are never truly disconnected, for life itself is a web of interwoven moments and shared experiences, he added. The disciple who first spoke turned to the weaver and said, "Your work carries wisdom, even as your loom clicks in silence." The weaver smiled humbly, his expression warm and steady, grateful for the understanding shared among the group. The sun dipped lower in the sky, casting a warm glow over the loom, and the disciples gathered around it. "Solitude is a teacher," the Buddha said, revealing the threads of connection that bind us, even when we feel alone. Through labor, reflection, and love, we create those threads, forming bonds that transcend the quiet of our individual lives, he added. The disciples rose, bowing to the weaver, their hearts filled with gratitude and newfound understanding of their own solitude. The Buddha prepared to depart, his presence like the steady rhythm of the loom, offering calm and wisdom to all. As they left the village, the loom's sound carried softly in the air, a reminder of the beauty in quiet labor. The disciples walked with the Buddha, each step imbued with the teachings they had absorbed that day. Solitude and connection, they realized, were not separate paths but parts of a greater whole, woven together by understanding. The threads of life stretched onward, binding their journey to the wisdom of the Buddha and the lessons of the weaver. Another day, the Buddha and his disciples walked along the shores of a serene lake under the soft glow of moonlight. The moon's reflection shimmered in the water, its image perfect despite the gentle ripples moving across the lake's surface. The Buddha paused and pointed toward the reflection, his expression calm yet filled with a profound depth of understanding. "Look at the moon's image," the Buddha said, his voice soft, carrying easily over the tranquil evening air. "It appears to be held by the water, yet the moon remains untouched." Far above, he continued, a disciple gazed at the reflection and asked, "Master, what does the moon teach us about connection and loneliness?" The Buddha replied, "The moon teaches us that connection is not possession, but a reflection of the truth within ourselves. When you connect with others, do not seek to grasp or hold, but simply to understand and reflect," he added. The disciple lowered his head, pondering the words, his heart searching for clarity in the calm presence of the Buddha. The Buddha turned his gaze back to the lake, the ripples gently reshaping the moon's reflection with each passing moment. The lake does not resist the ripples, nor does it hold the moon. Yet the reflection remains, he said. A younger monk hesitated before asking, "But Master, what if loneliness distorts our ability to see others clearly, like ripples in the water?" The Buddha smiled, his expression kind and knowing, his response unhurried and deliberate in its wisdom. "When the lake is calm, the reflection is clear, so too must your mind be calm to truly connect," he explained. In times of turmoil, the image wavers, but the moon remains unchanged. Seek the unchanging truth within yourself, he added. The monk nodded, his doubts easing as he absorbed the Buddha's teachings. The stillness of the lake grounding his thoughts. Loneliness can cloud the mind, the Buddha continued, but it also offers the chance to still the waters of your heart. When you calm your thoughts, loneliness becomes a teacher, guiding you toward deeper understanding and connection, he said. The disciples sat near the lake, their eyes fixed on the moonlit surface, their spirits open to the Buddha's words. Another disciple spoke, his tone filled with curiosity. Master, does this mean we should embrace loneliness fully, without seeking companionship? The Buddha chuckled softly, his laughter like the gentle rustle of leaves, soothing yet filled with quiet wisdom. Loneliness is not to be avoided, nor is companionship to be clung to. Both are reflections of life's truths, he replied. Learn to balance solitude and connection as the lake balances the ripples and the stillness, the Buddha added. The disciples remained silent, their hearts striving to reconcile the teachings with the complexities of their own experiences. The moon does not resent the lake's imperfections, yet it does not define itself by the lake's reflection, he said. Similarly, do not define yourself by others' perceptions or expectations, but by the truth of your own being, he explained. The ripples grew steadier, the moon's reflection becoming clearer as the disciples meditated on the wisdom shared with them. A bird flew across the lake, its shadow momentarily interrupting the reflection before vanishing into the night sky. Even the bird's shadow does not mar the moon, nor the lake's willingness to reflect it, the Buddha said. So too must you reflect others' truths without allowing their shadows to obscure your own clarity, he continued. The disciples looked to the Buddha, their respect deepened by the profound simplicity of his teachings on connection and self-understanding. Master, a disciple said, how can we calm our minds when loneliness fills them with restless thoughts and fears? The Buddha turned to him, his presence serene, his gaze steady and filled with quiet compassion for the disciples' struggle. Loneliness is like ripples on the lake. Do not fight them, but let them settle naturally through patience and awareness, he said. Fear and restlessness are temporary. The calm beneath them is enduring, waiting to be rediscovered, he added. The disciple felt his heart ease, his breathing steadier, as the Buddha's teachings brought clarity to his restless thoughts. Another disciple asked, Master, does the moon feel lonely in the vast sky, surrounded by stars yet standing apart? The Buddha smiled, his expression reflecting both warmth and understanding. As he considered the disciple's question, the moon does not seek to be the stars, nor does it lament its solitude. It shines its light regardless, he said. So too must you shine your truth, whether alone or among others, without comparison or longing, he added. The disciples gazed at the moon, its quiet radiance a reminder of the strength and beauty in embracing one's essence. The lake remained calm, its surface mirroring the moon's steady glow, teaching silently alongside the Buddha's gentle words. Connection is not found in grasping, but in understanding, the Buddha said. Reflect others as the lake reflects the moon. Offer your presence without clinging, your kindness without possession, and your love without fear, he added. The disciples bowed their heads, the moonlit lake and the Buddha's wisdom intertwining as lessons they would carry forward. Another day ended, the moon's reflection fading as dawn approached. Yet the teachings lingered in the disciples' hearts. Loneliness and connection, they realized, were not separate, but parts of a greater whole, revealed through calm and understanding. The Buddha began to walk away, his footsteps merging with the rhythm of the earth and the fading light of the moon. The disciples followed, their spirits lighter, their hearts woven with the threads of wisdom shared by their master. As they left the lake behind, The ripples stilled completely, a perfect reflection of the moon remaining in its wake. Thank you for watching. Buddha's teachings are always with you. Subscribe to our channel and we will see you in the next video.